I want you to think about something. Think about the last time you were genuinely frightened. Not startled, but like frightened, something real. What happened in your body? Your shoulders came up, your chest closed, your jaw tightened, your breath got short and high, your whole body pulled inward. Now, when the moment passed, did all of that release or did some stay? We spent 4 episodes in the biology, the structure, material, nervous system, the biomechanics, and today we're going to go a little bit different. Today we'll talk about what your body is carrying, because here's something that is no longer fringe science. It is documented, researched, published, replicated. Your body stores emotional experience in tissue, not metaphorically, but physically. The patterns of contraction, the holding, the guarding, that begin as responses to stress, threat, or trauma become encoded in the connective tissue, in the fascia, and they stay there until something addresses them directly. The first person to document this systematically was a psychiatrist named Wilhelm Reich. Working in the 1930s, Reich was a student of Freud, right? But he went somewhere Freud didn't. He noticed that his patients didn't just hold their emotional conflicts in their minds, they held them in the bodies in specific predictable locations, like the jaw, the throat, the chest, the diaphragm, the abdomen, the pelvis, and the legs, right? He called this character armor. The idea that over time, in response to unresolved emotional experience, the body builds a muscular and like fascial shell, a literal physical armor, not chosen consciously, but built automatically by the nervous system as a protective response. And here's what made Reich's observation profound, right? The armor doesn't just protect, it also suppresses. It holds the incomplete emotional response in the tissue, frozen, waiting, ready to be complete, if the armor ever releases. Which is why people sometimes cry in the middle of a deep stretch they weren't expecting, or feel grief when a body worker releases their diaphragm, or feel rage surface during a hip opener. The tissue wasn't just tight, it was holding something. Decades after Reich, a psychiatrist named Bessel Kolk spent his career studying trauma survivors, and he arrived at the same place from a completely different direction. His work and his book carries one of the most important titles in modern medicine: The Body Keeps the Score. Not the mind, not the memory. His research showed that traumatic experience doesn't just live in the story you tell about what happened. It lives in the physiological patterns your body developed in response. The bracing, the holding, the patterns of contraction that were adaptive in the moment of threat, and that the nervous system never fully stood down from. Because the nervous system doesn't distinguish between a threat that is over and a threat that is ongoing. It responds to the signal in the tissue. And if the tissue is still braced, if the fascia is still contracted in the pattern of the original response, the nervous system reads that as still in danger. Not because you are, but because the record in your body hasn't been updated. Let me be specific about where this shows up, right? Because it's not random. The diaphragm, the primary breathing muscle, sits at the center of the body, fascially connected to the psoas, the deep hip flexor that also happens to be one of the primary muscles that contracts during a fear response. So chronic shallow breathing, chest breathing, not belly breathing, is often the body holding the diaphragm in partial contraction, protecting something. When you've been under chronic stress for long enough, the psoas shortens and stays short. It pulls the lumbar spine forward, right? It compresses the hip. It keeps you in a subtle version of the fetal position. The position the body defaults to under threat, and you walk around in it, you train in it, you sleep in it. The hips, the pelvis is the body's center of gravity and the seat of some of the deepest fascial connections in the system. It is also where some of the most significant emotional holding lives across cultures, across traditions, across therapeutic modalities. The hip opener that makes someone cry, that's not weakness, that's a record releasing. The jaw and the throat, the places where things go unsaid, where grief is swallowed, where anger is bitten back, right? The deep fascial wrap of the neck and throat. The body doesn't forget what the mind chose not to express. I need to say something clearly. Everything I just described, the armor, the holding, the patterns encoded in tissue, none of it is weakness. None of it is failure. It is the body faithfully doing exactly what it was designed to do. When you were a child and the environment wasn't safe, your body braced. When you were under chronic stress and there was no outlet, your body held it. When something happened that was too much to process in that moment, your nervous system put it somewhere that kept you functional, somewhere that kept you moving. That was intelligence. That was survival. The problem is not that it happened. The problem is that nobody ever came back for it. Nobody ever helped the body complete what it started. So it's still there, still running, still organizing your movement, your posture, your breathing, your tension patterns from a set of instructions written in a moment that was long over. That is what we're addressing when we work on fascia, not just the tissue. It's history. This is why transformation coaching is not just about programming, right? It's not just sets, reps, and macros. It's not even just movement quality. It's learning to read what the body is presenting, because the body doesn't lie. The way someone carries their shoulders, the way they breathe when they're under pressure, the way they guard their hips during a stretch, the patterns they default to when they're fatigued. These are not just physical observations, they're actual information. They are the score the body has been keeping. A client who can't open their chest in any pressing movement, who rounds forward regardless of cueing, who breathes really shallow and high under any load, that person is not just tight. That person is armored, and the work isn't just mobilizing the thoracic spine. The work is understanding what the armor was built to protect and creating an environment in training in the relationship where it is safe enough to release. That's the invisible, deeper layer of this work. The body is always speaking. The question is whether you know how to listen. Go back to where we started today. That moment of fear, the shoulders, the chest, the jaw, the breath. That response was designed to be temporary, fight or flight, survive the moment, then release. But modern life doesn't give you the moment to release. The threat isn't a predator you can outrun, right? It's a deadline. It's a relationship, a financial pressure, a memory. It's chronic. And a chronic threat signal produces chronic fascial contraction. The work of releasing it is not dramatic. It's slow, it's consistent. It requires moving the body in ways that give the nervous system new information, telling it the threat has passed. You can release it now. Episode 6, we go into a little bit of strange science, the part that challenges everything you think you know about what your body actually is. Fascia generates electricity, it emits light, and the water inside it may behave like no other water in nature. The biology starts to look a lot like what the ancient traditions were describing all along. So see you there.